My dog
Yeah.
has decided to be a pain in the ass. Thanks for joining
I
us,
always
those who
know.
have joined. Yeah, always at the times when, yeah, always like the class goes over when you've got something right after the dog just can't settle,
Mhm.
when you're going live with Ryan.
Mhm.
What's up with that?
I don't know, but
Anyway,
it's
he'll chill.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, this is
also a very
mindfulness.
sweaty day. Are you
Mm,
feeling sweaty where you are?
yeah.
Like, we've gone from we're talking about being highly sensitive in this call, right? And we've gone
Right.
from, like, highly sensitive, "It's too cold," to suddenly highly sensitive, "I'm too sweaty. These clothes are sticking to me. I don't like this fabric." Um, and so I was definitely experiencing that
Absolutely.
right before the call. And I think that animals too can kind of pick up on
Oh, he's just
when we're not
yeah,
feeling ourselves. Do you
poor
have the kind of
baby.
dog that, like, comes closer and is, like, comforting when you're feeling agitated, or do you have the kind of dog that, like, gets more agitated?
He you know, it's hard to know yet because he just turned 1.
That's right, you have a puppy.
Yeah, and yeah, it's hard to tell what what his intuitive, like, ways are gonna be at this point because right now he's just like, "Give me belly rubs,"
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and
Right,
I
he's
might
still
bite
in the
your hand.
egocentric phase of his child
Oh,
development.
yeah,
It's
he's
all about
definitely
him.
like, "Nope, we gotta go my way, and we gotta sniff everything and meet all of the doggies."
So fun.
Um, yeah, and he's spoiled as heck. I don't think you
Yeah,
could spoil a dog, but if you could.
yeah.
Um,
So you're really
and
busy, like, organizing things for all of us highly sensitive people so that we can feel a little bit more comfy, even though we're talking about not being very comfy today. I'm actually really curious to hear what you've been learning from other people that you've been interviewing and in conversation with lately. You've been talking to all kinds of mental health professionals, and I'm so lucky to get to be among them learning from this team of people, this, like, Ocean's 11 group of people that you pulled together for the Self-Worthy Summit.
wow, I
So, what
love
have you
that.
been learning? What are some things, like, that you would be interested in sharing from those conversations? 'Cause I haven't had the opportunity in my travels to catch up
Right.
with all of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do I even start? The incredible thing is how they are like uh they intersect like a weaving, like incredibly like one touches on something that the other one goes deeper into and then uh, um one of the speakers called it a symphony and I was like, "Yes." Really
Yes,
feels that
that's how
way.
it feels. That's really how
Mhm.
it feels. Yeah, we
And
all
they're
we
like
all
3
have a role to
stanzas,
play.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it
and
starts
really,
off
do you
mhm.
find that they're kind of organizing along the 3 themes that you have?
It really yeah. I mean, I think I asked, like, twice as many people as said yes, but I was just so it's my first summit, I was so overjoyed by the people who said yes, including you, and it's a commitment. It's not as big a commitment as hosting a summit, for sure, but it is still a commitment, and, everyone is so busy. Something about this time of year, but everyone is so busy all the darn time these days. So, yeah, so the people in day 1 are really talking about some of them are talking about their experience of learning about high sensitivity and how they felt suddenly like everything fell into place. Some people are talking more about the, like the how do I put it? Like the cultural conditioning from different angles, different perspectives, but the cultural conditioning that impacts us and impacts us more as highly sensitive people than breaking it down a little more into being a highly sensitive person who is also a caretaker, a people pleaser, tends to abandon their own needs or even forget that they have needs. So it's tight, but it's broad in a way. Like
Mhm.
it goes
Mhm.
deep, but
Mhm.
they're like very aligned with each other. And I think if you
Mhm.
chose any of those five, you would get a picture just from like using your intuition to choose. You would get a
Mhm.
picture um of what it is like to step into the belief that it's not our fault.
Mhm.
Being highly sensitive is a trait that's innate.
Mhm.
And then culture has dumped on us all these expectations that make it really hard to accept ourselves. So that even starts the transformation of being able to accept ourselves a little more, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And then day
Mhm.
2, we drop into body. And I love the way embodiment shows up from in different perspectives from different speakers. So
Mhm.
I still haven't even recorded mine because I was waiting till everyone
Mhm.
else's, was there. My my talk is somehow going to encapsulate a 4-session course that I have about embodying
Mm.
boundaries and
Mm.
about, going beyond people pleasing to really feeling good and dropping guilt around your boundaries and
Mhm.
really feeling like them embodied. Um,
Mm.
and the course incorporates a lot of movement. So my dog is just being more annoying than ever. I have to say, but
Did
um,
you say movement?
yeah, he's like, I can do that. Movement and breathing.
Mhm. Dogs are already embodied. They don't need this course.
No, he's only embodied. He's like, what can I chew on? Um, and he seems to be able to open all the doors, all the fences. It's incredible.
Mhm.
He's like a little Houdini.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, distraction. Was talking about distraction and um,
Also a feature of being a sensitive person. So much
very
information
much a
coming at us.
feature. So, so I was on day 2 and yes, like bringing it in to your nervous system through creativity, through um, forest therapy, which was like lovely. And then we have a couple of yoga teachers doing very simple things to connect and come home to your body and your
Mhm.
emotional wealth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then finally, really continuing that to how do I take this with me and, carry it forward. And so much of that is belonging.
Yeah.
So much of that is how do I maintain the sense of belonging that I discovered in this summit and bring it with me.
Yeah.
And, I loved the way you infused mindfulness and sensitivity, and it kind of bridges that gap between practice, which we really delve into in day 2, and going forward with belonging because mindfulness can be such an amazing bridge to like if we feel like we don't have time,
Mhm. Mhm.
there's always
Mhm.
something we can do.
Right.
So what I'd love to ask you a question. What inspired you to teach the practices that you did and to go a little deeper into um, like the roots of mindfulness?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Um, well, I mean, I first just want to say that I think that it's important to talk about the intersection of mindfulness and high sensitivity because we know that people who are extra sensitive, we can benefit so much from all kinds of interventions. Research has shown that people who are highly sensitive are more negatively impacted in environments that are challenging. And they're also more able to rebound and be resilient and to really be healed by good interventions. And so I think I have
Right.
found that to be true of myself, and that I think that mindfulness has had potentially a disproportionate positive impact for me as a sensitive person as I've practiced it. And other people might not experience those benefits, but it is also challenging for reasons that I talk about in the small talk that I've given for your summit. Um, and a deeply internalized loud inner critic that comes from our socialization is one of those things that we might meet as highly sensitive people. And the other piece is just that our body sensations that we're supposed to be tracking through traditional methods like body scans, noticing the breath, they can be really loud. And for those of us that also struggle with chronic pain, that's not necessarily always going to be a calming experience. And so, um, mindfulness has been a really positive experience for me. And I've also had to really persevere through a lot of challenges. And I think that what has really helped me, and what I want to offer is just that I think that mindfulness offers so much more than just an experience of calm. I think calm is
Right.
wonderful. And I think that it's a very effective marketing strategy for uh, mindfulness and mindfulness adjacent offerings. Um, but I think promises of calm really mislead people, and particularly highly sensitive people, um, to think that if they don't feel calm when they're exploring mindfulness for the first time, that there's something wrong with them. And we get messages all throughout our lives that there's something wrong with us if we're engaging with this thing that's designed for the general population and it doesn't feel good to us. We get the message that there's something wrong with us rather than
Yeah, or we're
understanding
not doing it right.
we're
Yeah.
not doing it right, whereas actually we need more tailored guidance. We need guidance that's very aware of nervous system diversity, and that make space for that. And so I think that your framework is really powerful because what I've experienced and what I've articulated in my space is that the point, and with mindfulness it's always like, should there be a point, should we let go of all points and outcomes, but let's just say the things that have motivated me to
Yeah,
stick
we
with
gotta
the
start with the
practice.
point. Right.
Yeah, it's like you have a point, and at some point, maybe you let the point fall away. But in any case,
Mhm.
my sales pitch, if I'm going to be very transparent about mindfulness, is not you're going to feel calm, because I think that that's that's not responsible advertising. My sales pitch is you're going to experience some inner clarity, and I think that what you've described in terms of really understanding yourself better as a sensitive person, understanding how your nervous system works, understanding that this is a trait, this is not a flaw. I think that that comes as part of just cultivating inner clarity, just getting to know yourself better. And I think getting to know yourself better is more important than feeling calm and being nice and being pleasant and whatever anybody else wants you to be. I think getting
Right.
to know yourself fully is more important than squishing yourself into yet another box. And so
Mhm.
I will say mindfulness is something that has allowed me to just get to know myself and get to know the experience of having an inner critic arise and tell me I'm doing it wrong, or having a real pain arise in my body and learning how to work with that in ways that are kind and trauma informed rather than forcing myself to push through, which is a very common sensitive person experience. And I would say that the other piece is that it helps us to show up in community and to really stand in our truth and to say, this is how my nervous system works. This is what I need. This is how I am. This is how I can best contribute. That allows us to show up to community differently and to sort of soften some of those patterns that you talked about, soften patterns of people pleasing, of just trying to be whatever anybody needs us to be, and instead saying, this is what I need in order to show up as my best self. And that may not be what you need from me, but that's how I'm choosing to show up. I think mindfulness allows us to kind of establish that base within ourselves and then move forward from there. And I think it helps too with the piece that you mentioned about being a caretaker in some way, which I think of as like a subset of people pleasers. Like I don't necessarily
Yes.
feel as though I need to be pleasing in every context, but um, if we if we don't have a plan for dinner, then please trust and believe I am stepping in and probably over functioning to make sure that the people in my family get fed. And I think that that is, a form of people pleasing, but it's also about my pleasing myself, making sure that I can eat. Um, I think that being very, very attuned to a family environment or a work environment, if you're a helping professional, which so many of us sensitive people find ourselves becoming, there can be such an attunement to what the environment needs from us that we can lose touch with those inner sensations, with those needs. And I think that over time, it erodes our ability to show up in a regulated way. And so, what I end up noticing about myself and what I've read in the literature about highly sensitive people is that we sort of oscillate between being these like almost psychically attuned, compassionate, empathic, present, nourishing humans to be around. But then when we get depleted because we're so attuned to the other person, we've lost touch with, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I need to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden, there's like a switch that flips, and suddenly we're dysregulated. We're having a sensory meltdown. We are more irritable. We
Yeah.
haven't taken a
Rage.
break. Yeah, exactly. Rage
Mhm.
can be a part of it, and for those of us
Resentment.
that yeah, for
Burnout.
those of us that are
Yeah.
sensitive and also may have an additional element of neurodivergence, right? If you have ADHD, if you are on the autism spectrum, those can also be a really confusing part of the caregiving experience that I love these people so much. So why am I suddenly in a murderous rage? Something doesn't feel right. A lot of times it's because we've just lost touch with that interoceptive awareness of our own needs. And, for because we're well intentioned, but we're not necessarily well regulated, we're not necessarily claiming, that right and that need to take care of ourselves. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
And
so I've experienced in myself that sort of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde polarity when I'm not really on my practice. And it's eroded trust, with the people for whom I care. And I don't like that. So
mhm.
truly, I think I wrote a note about this the other day. The thing that keeps me on my cushion and that keeps me accountable for my mindfulness practice is not it's not anything fancy. It's not even necessarily aspirational. It's just preventative care for my relationships. It's helping me be more consistent and less of a jerk to the
Yeah.
people that I love the most. And unfortunately, that means being less of a jerk to myself. um, and you have articulated what a puzzle that is, right? How hard it is sometimes to hear, like, put on your oxygen mask first, and it's really hard to figure out exactly where to start, you know, in this reciprocal sort of call and response that we have with our loved ones and our own needs. But I think that mindfulness offers a space. So
Yeah.
it offers just the way that I describe it is like a sit spot. It's like I just was at the beach, and it's just about getting out of the water and toweling yourself off and finding a place to sit and just watch for a little bit what's happening, what's true, um, without there being a should. You should take better care of yourself. You should be more
Mhm.
attuned. It's just coming back and seeing, well, okay, those are some shoulds that exist, but what is actually happening? And can I just be with that? And from that place, can I make a choice that isn't just my normal habitual reaction that I take? And I think that's so powerful for highly sensitive people because we certainly don't get that education from our culture. We aren't taught how to take a break, bring awareness to the situation, reassess with self compassion instead of criticism and shitting, and then assessing where our energy needs to be. So I don't know. Does that lead to calm? Sometimes. Does that lead to me sometimes saying, you know what I need is to go in my bedroom and lock the door and all y'all need to figure it out for the next couple of hours? Sometimes that is where it leads. So I just, yeah, I would just really encourage us to release calm as the reason or the end goal or what we're supposed to be experiencing, because I think that the reality is much richer and it's more respectful of our interior landscapes, and it lets them
Mhm.
be wild, and it lets the tide be wherever it is, and it lets there be storms, and it lets there be tranquil days, and it just respects that we're part of the landscapes that we inhabit, and we are multifaceted. And so that's also just something that I talk about in the meditation, is just inviting people to come back to that connection. As you said, the connection with the earth feels really, really important, and it feels like where belonging lives for me. It's just
Mm.
saying, I mean, if the earth can have her seasons, why can't I have my seasons? If the earth can have storms, why can't I have storms? If the earth has seasons of rest and fallowness, why do I always have to be going? That doesn't seem right. So, yeah. And you have a beautiful practice along those lines that's really inspired me too. So, I have a question for you that arises out of that though.
It's so
Last
funny
time
because
you
I
gave
have
me
so
really good
many.
advice on self-compassion, and I have another like FAQ that I get, and I'm really curious to
Oh.
hear um,
Mhm.
from you as an experienced teacher. So, one thing that uh, I would love to do to extend this work, and I'm curious to hear if other speakers have touched on this, is just what do you do when you are bringing awareness to your patterns and it's hard to call in compassion for yourself? Like if your inner critic is incredibly loud, and even as you're finding your sit spot and seeing the sort of habit loops that you move through and maybe how you get hooked, how you forget your body or your needs, or, oh, here I am again, melting down. I didn't take my break soon enough, right? As you're learning about yourself as a highly sensitive person and bringing that awareness and compassion to your experience, I notice in some of the people that are doing this work that it's really there's a lot of clarity and there's not a lot of compassion, right? Within mindfulness, we talk about clarity and compassion needing to be like two wings of a bird, and it feels like the clarity wing starts developing and it's like this huge muscle, and then the compassion wing is like
Yeah.
it's like a tiny it's not quite keeping up. And so I find that
Mhm.
it's a stumbling block. Like it's hard for people to really take flight and find that sense of belonging if they don't have a lot of experience with giving themselves compassion for the things they notice. Like, yes, you do struggle when you don't take a break. And sometimes you won't know when it's time to take a break until it's too late. And how do you talk to yourself then? Rather than, well, I'm just back on my bullshit and I'm just irredeemable as a person. I wonder, does that make sense, the question that I'm asking? Like, how do you support people with a loud inner critic if they're learning new patterns to not be so hard on themselves if that re-parenting and relearning is hard?
Absolutely. Um, as I was listening to you, there were just so many points I wanted to kind of bring, like, put an exclamation point on. And so being present with that question is taking me a moment. I don't think I have quite the same way um, of verbalizing, like, what I'm what I'm thinking on a live or what I'm feeling on a live as you do. Like, we might have different styles with that because you're really good at getting it all out. And I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, but I won't remember." You know?
I know it's like when you send your friend a voice memo, you're like, I gotta take
Mhm.
some notes. And then you completely forget. Yeah, no
So
worries.
there's so many things I was like, "Yes, yes, I wanna add to that." But the to to answer your question, if I can, is yes. I think the hardest part is feeling like we're bad, right? Bad mom, bad someone who's maybe not the most helpful. Like those things have been so hard for me to sit with myself and and be with, like those thoughts about myself. And I have a such a harsh inner critic who really did keep me safe for a very long time. And now isn't really needed, but still like sits there a lot. And like I was just criticizing myself for my way um of speaking live, or judging myself for not having the I don't know. Yeah, I'm more of a pauser thinker than speaker. And I just have to be that way. I can't help it.
I think you're
And
modeling a really important skill for sensitive people, honestly,
mhm.
is just the need for more
Yeah.
think time.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just easier for me to slow myself down to listen to my heart. Um, if I just go forward with my thoughts, it becomes less of a dialogue, right? I want it to be between us. And I was thinking about how you how you explore the two wings of awareness, and that that's is one of my favorite things about mindfulness. And it really is like awareness is not just clarity. Awareness is not just like, I know these things. Like, oh, I unpacked all this in therapy and I know like my parents just like abandoned me and da da da, whatever it was. Like,
Mhm.
I know that I developed this coping mechanism of people pleasing from a place of survival and developmental, trauma or whatever. That's the start, right? That's day one. Day two is grounding in your nervous system. It's not about being calm, it's about being regulated. And so much of that is, oh, let me give myself a hug, right? I am not alone. I'm one drop in an ocean of awareness.
Mhm.
I'm not alone even in this particular feeling, thought, trait, or need.
Mhm.
I'm not alone in this. Lots of other people have a really mean inner critic. And if this was happening in the mind of my best friend, just like the most basic self compassion stuff, like what would your best
Mhm.
friend say to you? What would I say to my best friend? If they were vocalizing this inner critic, if they were actually saying these words to themselves, what would I say to them? What would I say to my child? How can I be so cruel to someone I love? Like, stop being so cruel to someone I love.
Mhm.
And it takes practice. It takes understanding that, the first part is probably what's going to come first, that clarity and that maybe that rage, that resentment, that was strong awareness, like that unpacking and realizing, oh, this is generational. This is cultural. This isn't just me. And
Yeah.
there is pain involved. And I can be upset about it. Like Jenny Turner, Dr. Jenny Turner, you've got to listen to her talk. She's a feminist. And we all call ourselves feminists, I know, but she speaks from this place of, um, really, really spelling out the dynamic and how it's the systems. It's the bloody systems, you know, that
Mhm.
have created this, and we can be cycle breakers. And it's hard. There's pain there and it's hard. And no, it's not going to be calm. We can get mad about it first.
Yeah.
And that, just remembering we're not alone, I think is the most essential part. It's just like, oh yeah, this is. I have a body. I was a child. And when it comes to compassion, sometimes we have to just like think about that baby, that little tiny
Yeah.
baby, whether we're thinking about compassion for others or for ourselves. Like we're not going to be
Mhm.
mean to a baby, right? A baby
Yeah.
has it's like the puppy, you know, the
I was
puppy's
just thinking
barking.
of
I'm
your
not
puppy
mad.
down
Yeah.
there, like
He's being a pain in the ass, but I'm not like criticizing him.
right. He's just being a baby.
Right. He's a baby
Yeah.
and he's doing what babies do.
Yeah.
And that's where we learned it. We learned it when we were babies. So this harshness is it really, it's understandable and it really could take a step back. And we could think about what yeah, kind isn't the end goal. Kindness isn't the end goal, but that kindness balances out the clarity, like you said. It
Yeah.
balances out oh my God, I've suddenly been awakened to all of this stuff that makes me really like agitated. Yeah, and I can be kind to myself and I can keep pulling myself back into I can be kind, I can breathe, I can take it slow, I can take breaks. And this is why I think the nervous system regulation part of day 2 is so important in the summit. And I lost my train of thought. I'll get it back. Because if we're dysregulated and we're still not letting ourselves rest, like say we go straight from people pleasing to being angry at the systems that are keeping us small. That's a lot to take in for our nervous systems. And a lot of
Yeah.
it, if we go right into learning, 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 and we don't give ourselves a break of breathing and being, um, it's actually harder to learn. We need the rest to our nervous systems need the rest in order to embody a um, absorb and assimilate all that we're taking in.
Yeah.
So that pause, that spaciousness, and literally like letting it all kind of simmer is the best thing we can do right
Yeah.
after having all that clarity kind of awaken for us. Like anytime that
Mhm.
we're like, open this door, like you read a really good book. I don't know about you, but if I'm reading something really like awakening, like opening my eyes, I sometimes just fall asleep. Or if I'm
Yes.
listening to something that's very heady, I'll just
Yeah.
doze off.
Mhm.
And it's
Yes.
not, yes, I'm tired. Yes, my life is too full, but also
Mhm.
I need that in order to assimilate it, in order to like let it become part of me. If I go
Yes.
straight from learning it to teaching it or learning it to trying to apply it in my life, it's inauthentic. But if I rest back and allow it to kind of wash through me, and the RAIN's protocol, right? So the RAIN
Mhm.
protocol. So I added the S
Mm.
uh, of um, satiate, like just like let it
Mm.
absorb, and like
Mm.
if you're standing in the rain, just like just
And
allow
it's really,
yourself
like,
to
saturating too.
saturate. That's the word. Yeah,
I
saturate.
mean, I love the word
That's what I
satiate.
added. Yeah.
That sounds
No, but
really
saturate. Like there are
satisfying,
a
but
couple
yeah,
different ways, like simmer,
saturate.
saturate. Yeah, it's just like
Simmer,
soak
that's
it,
a good
soak in it.
one. So
Yeah.
good. Oh, man, all of these are so good. So
Yeah.
we're
Good S words, right?
recognizing, you know, if I'm saying, just saying back to you what I'm hearing from a mindfulness
Hmm.
perspective, it sounds like, if we're experiencing self-blame,
Yeah.
why am I not better? Why am I not fixing myself faster? why why am I still doing this? You know? Um, it's recognizing, oh, this is self-criticism. Acknowledging, oh, my inner critic is here. These critical thoughts are here.
Or
Investigating.
allowing. Yeah, allowing
Yeah.
is the
Right.
A.
Just like,
Yeah.
oh, when my inner critic is here, the embodied cues that let me know
Mm.
that I'm sort of getting possessed instead of, in my best self are needy some sort of tightness, right? Nurturing, like you said, bringing in self compassion. Wait,
Yeah.
other people feel this too. Wait, this is structural. This is not my fault. And then, yeah, just giving some soothing and saturating like, whoa,
Mm.
this whole thing was a new understanding for me, a new way of relating to that inner critic rather than like cringing and doing whatever it tells us to do and believing that it's
Yeah.
real or even believing that other people think this about us and treating them accordingly. Like it's
Yeah.
what you're describing is profound, profound cycle breaking and unlearning. And like you said, yes, mindfulness, but also like a good nap. I have definitely
Yes.
experienced that recently in engaging with some of the cycle breaking material. I've been reading Jed Brewer's Unwinding Anxiety, where he talks
Mm.
about bringing awareness to habit loops. I've been reading the book Are You Mad at Me? That's about people pleasing, and she brings in a lot of mindfulness. Um, and with both of those, I'm nodding because I'm like, yes, I have needed to nap so much more as I allow it to saturate my
Have
being.
you have you read Sebene Selassie's You Belong?
I haven't.
I would add
I
that to
really
your list,
admire her work.
to your
Here.
TBR.
Yeah, I'm always looking for a TBR. Yeah, let's put it in the footnotes. So 7 is the last
Definitely.
is you belong. Great.
Mhm.
Yes, let's put it on the list.
And, what were you just saying before that? Before the books, the nap, before that, the self-kindness. Oh, the RAINS protocol. So, Tara Brach calls it after the rain, and I just felt
Yeah,
like it needed its own letter.
I agree with you.
So
I
that
think that's an
saturate
important
yeah.
contribution and one that is so respectful of highly sensitive nervous systems.
Yes,
We
right,
really need a minute.
and it's that moment of saying, like, "Well, what would it be like if there's nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
me?" Like,
right.
what does it feel like when there's nothing wrong with me?
Yeah,
What does that feel like in my nervous system?
I think my inner critic has a lot of clapbacks to that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
But,
It's hard, yeah.
it's
I
hard,
mean,
but
that's always the hardest part, and also, like, the compassion towards those who we dislike or we think we believe we know are actively harming this world or us. Yeah, how do you have compassion?
well, it's interesting. I interviewed Ledro Rinsler recently. He just wrote a book about basic goodness, and he talks about that, where he talks about what it's like to extend this notion that we're all good inside, that we're all basically good,
Yeah.
that there's something inside of every person that is not confused, that is not, wishing to harm. And he gets a lot of questions about world leaders. And he shared the insight that he thinks that people are too afraid to ask about themselves. What about this unlovable part of me? And so they ask questions about the traits of people that, are maybe agreed upon targets for a lot of people or agreed upon examples of this or that particularly unlovable trait. What about them?
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear him say, people don't usually own up to the fact that they might be asking about themselves too. But he had some really thoughtful, sweet answers about that, and I would add that to the TBR pile too.
Okay, yeah, will
His book is
do.
called "You Are Good, You Are Enough." Yeah, and
And
it's a bold claim, right? It's a really bold
perfect.
claim
Mhm.
to make that we're all basically good. Attacks against thousands of years of religious tradition, depending on which tradition you come from. So it sounds sweet until you
Patriarchy.
start thinking, that's actually pretty radical to think
It is.
that what if I'm basically good? But I'm so grateful for the work of folks like Lodro and for Tara Brock, who I know has been a big influence for us both in just
Mhm.
inviting us into the hypothetical, what if? And then noticing our reactivity to that. Like that can be the practice. It's not calming, but it brings clarity and it brings compassion at the same time.
I just keep bringing it back to, what about when they were a baby?
Mhm.
Even them,
Exactly.
even them. What
Yeah.
somebody asked me on a retreat once, "Yeah, but what if," a compassion retreat, "what if they did something really bad?" And you don't know. Are they talking about
Mhm.
themselves? Are they talking about someone they know? Are they just, is it hypothetical? What if they did
Yeah.
something really bad? Yeah, they still are worthy of love. All of us are worthy of love. At one point, they were a little baby, right? And that little baby you might hold in your arms. You might imagine them as a little helpless baby. There's always a point we can trace back, right? And be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't believe in original sin for sure."
Well, I mean, you're naming sort of the photo negative idea of basic goodness, right? And
Yeah.
again, it can be very confronting to just show up as a person who believes in basic goodness in a
Mhm.
heterogeneous social circle. And actually, I don't really believe in sin. Um,
Well,
but I think it's an
people do
interesting
bad
practice to
things.
explore inside yourself,
Mhm.
right? Wow, to what degree has the larger idea of
Oh, I just lost your sound. Hmm. See? Can you hear me? Okay. So I can't, yeah, no, I can't hear. Try turning these off and on again. All right, talk now. Nothing. Hmm. No, nothing. Can you hear me? Okay, so other people, but Jen, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. We could- It might, oh, you can hear me now, Jen. So, I'm gonna get the last word on Ryan. Um, now I can't hear you, Ryan, but, Jen can hear me, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna wrap it up. And so I get to lavish lots of praise on Ryan for her contribution to the summit, the Self-Worthy HSP Summit, and I get to, yeah, it would not be alive without technical difficulties for sure. So Ryan really does bridge that gap between body and continuing out into the world with a sense of belonging through mindfulness, and her you'll have to join the summit to experience her take on it and her talk about, being highly sensitive and practicing mindfulness and all of the hiccups and um, that can, present, but also this idea of the two wings of awareness and how we find balance that way. So, the summit is May 28th through 30th, and maybe Ryan has a link she can put in the chat since she has been silenced for some strange reason. So yeah, put that link in the chat and please join the summit even if you're not sure if you're a highly sensitive person, if you can relate to like hyper empathy, over functioning, people pleasing, um, yeah, just being mad that you're doing more than everybody else, or um, what else? And there was just one more thing I wanted to say because you asked me about that lopsided feeling of gaining more clarity as people who might, who might actually be carrying some developmental trauma, some complex trauma, just by living in the world as a highly sensitive person and not knowing it. So, and this includes neurodivergent people because most neurodivergent people are also highly sensitive, but it definitely includes neurodivergent people. We might struggle, and I would put this in the category also of like people socialized as women, people socialized as helpers, assigned female at birth, people who identify as mothers. It gets like deeper and deeper into this hole of um, putting other people's needs first. So the first thing is to identify, and often this is really hard, identifying a compassionate guide. So you know this as someone who teaches self-compassion, we need to identify that compassionate guide first and foremost. So someone who has our back, who can hold our hands through this process when things get tough, we can turn to them and we can see ourselves through their eyes. So whether it's Mother Nature, whether it is an ancestor, whether it's our dog, whether it's our best friend, our sangha, our community, our um, favorite fictional hero, I always mention Obi-Wan Kenobi. I can never get through a talk about compassion without bringing in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Um, whoever it was for you. And if you don't have someone in your life who is a compassionate kind of figure right now, you might I've had lots of students who look to their older, wiser self, and I had one student who looked to her younger self because she felt her younger self had it more together and was more kind and compassionate than than she was after a trauma. So you'll find it and you'll keep trying until you find it. And then you always bring that compassionate guide with you on any practice. You have them at your back, lean into them, or by your side, holding your hand. You can, yeah, feel their embrace and see yourself through their eyes. Like, would they say that to you? Would they? Seeing yourself through the eyes of your compassionate guide can soften that harsh critic a lot, I believe. So, is it okay to leave it there? Anything else? I think the baby thing is also very important, seeing yourself as a little baby, seeing the one you're angry at and, could really use some electroshock therapy, or be replaced or whatever in their role. Seeing them as a baby. And we just start to develop more just general compassion and self-compassion. It is possible. It takes practice, just like all the rest of this. So thank you for your mindfulness, Ryan. Thank you for being part of the summit. And let's do this again soon when technology's on our side. All right. Bye. Thank you.